Hey, I'm Adam.
I'm Brian.
Of Everyone Has a Podcast, and you're listening to Pop Goes Your World.
If you haven't already, subscribe on iTunes. And while you're there, please leave us a rating and review.
And now it's time for our feature presentation.
I'm Chris McBrien, and the pop culture from Generation X is everything to me.
And I'm Derek Myers, and I'm here to educate Chris on the great pop culture of today's generation.
Episode 330, Footloose Movie Review. Hey, I'm Chris McBrien, along with Derek Myers, and this is Pop Goes Your World, the pop culture podcast for the generations. This week, Derek and I are going to go back, all the way back to 1984, to review the Kevin Bacon film Footloose. But before we do, Derek, what pop culture have you been able to get around to since we last talked?
Hey, Chris. Been a couple of weeks, hasn't it?
Yeah. Summertime, you know.
Yeah, well, of course. Yeah, I had actually a chance to go to the movie theater twice since our last show to see two brand new, just released movies in the theater.
Look at you.
I mean, and neither of them were Marvel movies or other big franchise movies.
Wow, you're expanding your horizons over here. Wow.
Well, I'm not expanding it that much. The first movie I went to see was a sequel. It's a sequel to the movie Nobody, and this one is cleverly titled Nobody 2.
Wow, that's original.
We recently,
what the hell is Nobody? I didn't even heard.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you. So we recently reviewed John Wick on this podcast a while back. This sort of feels a little bit like that. It's not as good. Trust me, John Wick is a 9 out of 10. This is maybe a 7.5 out of 10. And the idea is that the star is Bob Odenkirk, who people know from Better Call Saul. He's the Saul from Better Call Saul. So in the first movie, he's just living a mundane, normal suburban life, the wife, the two kids, the white picket fence, and you see him at the beginning, like his routine day after day is exactly the same. He's living the most boring life you can imagine. And I mean, the guy's in his mid to late 50s, and then stuff happens, and there's a home invasion, and things get taken, and he gets pushed too far, and then you realize he used to be like a CIA assassin, and he's just been in retirement for a decade to have a family. And so then the rest of the movie, he's like kicking ass and taking names, which it's a great movie. It's shot in a really interesting way. He did all his own stunts and fight scenes, which makes it even that much more interesting to watch. And it wasn't a huge hit when it came out, the first one, but it really found its legs on streaming and on video. And then enough so that they did a second one. So we went to see part 2.
That's like John Wick too, because John Wick was like that as well. It kind of found its legs, on streaming.
Yeah, and it gets a lot of comparisons, sort of like if you've seen John Wick and you like John Wick, this feels close enough that's a good entry point. Again, I don't think this movie's as good as John Wick. I think John Wick is a much superior film for a lot of reasons, but this one's fun. And if you like Odenkirk, this is not his typical thing. I mean, now I looked him up. I think he's 61 or 62 years old, and he's still kicking ass. I'm like, geez, I hope I could. I'm 10 years younger than that. And
he's had some health issues to deal with too recently, so good on him.
Oh, I was not aware of that. But in any case, this new one, part 2, just came out. It takes place about 6 months after the first movie. And after all the stuff that's happened in the first one, he decides we're going on a family vacation. And of course, shenanigans ensue when he's on vacation, and he has to basically pull out his set of skills and take care of business. Now, one of the interesting side parts of this movie is his father is played by Christopher Lloyd, who is a retired FBI agent. And so in the first movie, he has to go. His father's living in a retirement home, but in the retirement home, he's like stashed all these guns and stuff. So he goes to get his dad's help, and he gets all the guns. And at the end of the first movie, there's a big like shoot 'em up and all the rest of that. So in this second one, they go on family vacation, and of course, Grandpa comes with them. And when there ends up being more shenanigans going on, Christopher Lloyd gets a chance to participate in these as well. So it's a fun movie. It's an action movie, but it's got some humor in it. It's good. I really liked it. Again, I would say probably a 7.5 out of 10. I'm not saying rush out to the theater and see it, but I would definitely give it a look when it comes onto your streamers.
Sure.
But then a couple of nights later, we went back to the movies and we saw the brand new release called Weapons. Now, this is being touted as a horror movie. I don't think that's an accurate assessment. It's more of a thriller it's like a drama thriller with some I don't even want to say horrific parts. Like, there's something weird going on. I hesitate to even say supernatural, because that might sort of paint the wrong picture, but let's just say some oddities are happening that can't reasonably be explained. But the basic premise, without giving anything away, this is on the poster, in the trailer, and in the first 1 minute of the movie. 17 children out of 18 children from a grade 3 class leave their house at 2 o'clock in the morning in the middle of one night, and they're gone. And there's no clue as to where they went, why they went, or anything. The only people that are left from the class is the teacher and one student. And so the story picks up a few weeks after the disappearance, where everyone's like trying to find out what's going on. And of course, they assume the teacher had something to do with it, or the one student knows something. So there's a lot of like heated tempers and emotion going on. And the story is told from the points of view of 5 or 6 of the main characters. Think like a story like Pulp Fiction, how you get some of the scenes you get told from different people's point of view, the same scene. You get that with this, and it, just like with Pulp Fiction, where it's broken into chapters, something, but not quite like that, but yeah, a little like that. Whereas this one, again, it's broken into chapters based on which character's story you're following, and you get to see how those stories intersect with the ones you've already seen, but they're always moving the story forward. It was really, really good. I loved it. I thought it was great. Probably one of the best movies I've seen this year. It's original. It's not based on a book. It's not based on a comic. It's not based on a pre-existing anything. And no, it was really good. I would not be surprised to see it get accolades come award time, you know, best script, possibly even some acting nominations. I mean,
well, who's in it? Like, who would we know that's acting in it?
Josh Brolin is the male lead, and the female lead, I can't think of her name. It's the woman from Ozark that plays the not the wife, but
the daughter?
Not Laura Linney, the other one, the one who's the daughter of like the drug dealers.
With the blonde hair and kind of the southern accent.
I can't think of her name.
I can't think of it either.
She's done a lot of stuff. She was actually in the Fantastic Four movie that just came out a few weeks ago, so she's having a big summer. It was really, really good. I don't want to say too much more about it, because everything I've told you is sort of revealed in the first 2 minutes of the movie. It runs 2 hours. It's fantastic. It's one of those ones where I didn't look at my watch once. I just was glued on the screen. I wanted to know where it was going next. I'm trying to figure out what's going on. And no, I really, really liked it. I think it's going to get a lot of high praise come award season. And it was refreshing to go to the theater and see a movie that wasn't a sequel, wasn't an IP franchise, wasn't a comic book, wasn't based on a TV show. Like, it was just, here's an original concept. And I mean, I watched Sinners about a month ago on the streaming service, and that's another example of something not an IP, not a comic, this year's already had a few really strong movies that are original, that just reminds us, like, not everything needs to be Harry Potter or the Hunger Games or Marvel Comics or Minecraft. Like, there's some original stories still out there if you give creative people an opportunity to make them.
Cool. So that's all that you did?
And then
you got something else.
Sorry, that ran a little long, but
that's right.
Here in Toronto, this time of year, we have the Canadian National Exhibition. It runs every summer. It's been over 100 years now, the CNE.
Yes, you made it down.
One of the things I did finally had a chance to go and see the CNE. I don't go every year, but I've been the last few years. And every year they do a series of free concerts. So you have to pay to get into the exhibition, but once you're in, it's one of the few things you don't have to actually pay extra for. And they usually promote Canadian bands, sometimes newer bands, a lot of times bands that are famous enough that you're like, oh yeah, like, I know who that is. And because if you're already there, why not? Anyway, we got a chance to see Loverboy. Oh, gee.
I'm surprised they were able to play with everybody working for the weekend.
Yeah, right. So I actually had a chance to see Loverboy last summer. They were the opening act for Sammy Hagar when he was touring. And so we got to see them last summer. And they had a much shorter set, which was fine. They just banged out their hits and away you go. This time they were the headliner. They played almost 90 minutes again, played all the hits, played a few other songs that I'm like, oh, I forgot they sang this. But considering how old they are, they sounded amazing. And like, we've been seeing a lot of these legacy acts that are coming around 20, 30, even 40 years past their prime. And you're like, oh boy, how much is this going to suck? Like, no, they sounded amazing. And even my wife turned to me and she's like, oh my God, I can't believe at this guy's age, and he's a little overweight, he's an older dude. And she's like,
yeah, but Mike Reno can really sing. He can really sing.
Oh my God, can he ever? It was super, super good. The crowd was so old and so white.
Yes.
I'm 50,
Yeah.
and I was the young pup in that crowd. It was a lot of old folks, a lot of bald heads, a lot of gray hairs, and my God, all the white people were there. Not a lot of diversity at a Loverboy concert.
No, Loverboy.
But we had a good time with it. No, it was a great show, and we spent the whole day at the X, so it was a nice way to sort of end off the day, and the weather was fantastic. Couldn't have asked for a more beautiful night because the concert was outdoors. So, so I had a pretty good week, all things considered. And now my summer vacation's done, and I'm back to work. So, can't win them all.
Yeah, that's the way it goes. Okay, I got something for you. So I was up at my trailer in, it's sort of in like mid-eastern Ontario. So I was there with my wife and my son, and I wake up on the Saturday, and I say to them, pack up, we're going for a road trip. My son's like, well, where are we going, Daddy? I'm like, I just said it's a surprise because I knew that they'd probably never go with me if I told them where we were going.
Sure.
So we get in the car, we drive about an hour north, and we arrived at Camp White Pine. It's just northwest of Haliburton, Ontario. Derek, it's the camp where they filmed the movie Meatballs back in 1979.
Oh, my God. Of course it was.
I don't know if you know this or not. I can't recall if I've ever mentioned it here, but I love the movie Meatballs. One of my all-time favorites.
Yeah, you might have mentioned that once or twice.
I have mentioned it, have I? Okay. So we drive up there, we make it to the camp. And all I really expected to do was just take a picture of myself outside, the camp entrance with a sign. I want to show that I was there, So we pull up to the entrance and the gates open. My wife is like, you can't just drive in there. That's trespassing, So the thing is, it is an active summer camp with actual campers staying there.
Like children campers.
Yeah. So I just drive in, and she's freaking out.
I can see the headline now. Strange man enters child's camp.
That's what
shenanigans happen.
That's what my wife is saying. She's freaking out on me. She's like, you can't just go in. I'm like, yes, I can. And so I just drive in, and I just go a little way up the path, and then I spot the part in the movie where they hung Morty's bed from the trees, where all the parents were driving into the camp, and there's like the two pathways going together. Where I'm there, I just start totally freaking out. I'm taking pictures of it. So then I drive in a little further, and then my wife starts getting really nervous. And she's all like, there's trail cameras here. This is a private camp. They're going to call the cops on us. We have to get out of here. We got to leave. And so just as she's saying that, we pull up to the basketball court, the outdoor basketball court where they played against the Camp Mohawk team. And I just freaking lose it. So I jump out of the van. I'm taking pictures. I'm standing there right where they played the basketball game. I was just so friggin' excited. And my wife is totally losing it. Like, she's yelling at me. She's like, you're a 50-year-old man taking pictures at a kid's summer camp. You're going to go to jail.
I was thinking the same thing, buddy. And the fact that you're doing this from prison says a lot.
No. But the thing is, like, I'm wearing a Meatballs t-shirt for crying out loud. If anyone did say
they make those,
I guess I have 2 Meatballs t-shirts, and I'm pretty sure if I got called, I could probably talk my way out of this, So anyway, I got my pictures. I got to stand on what I consider to be hallowed ground. It was a hell of an experience. But best of all, actually, Derek, the cops haven't showed up at my door yet, at least, I guess. So there's that. All right, I got this.
Here's your dad joke of the week.
Derek, I'm going to actually do a Star Wars joke for you. Okay, none of that prequel crap. I'm talking Star Wars 1977 here. Okay, joke?
Got it.
All right. So, Derek, if R2 is short for R2-D2 and Chewie is short for Chewbacca, what is Luke short for?
I don't know.
A stormtrooper.
Oh, my gosh. As soon as you started saying it, I'm like, oh, that's totally where he's going with this joke. Yeah, my God.
Short for stormtrooper?
That's not bad. Winter is coming.
Dynamite.
Yo, Joe.
The plane.
Wubba lubba dub dub.
Kiss my grits.
Legend. Wait for it. Dairy.
No soup for you.
It's clobbering time.
I'm Rick James, bitch.
Holy something, Batman.
What you talking about, Willis? All right, it was my turn to pick a movie to review, and you actually, Derek, gave a groan at the end of last show when I nominated this movie. So I think I know where this episode is headed, but get us started, my friend. What was your initial take on watching Footloose this week?
So I've seen, before this week, I had seen Footloose exactly one time. It would have been in the late 90s when I worked at Blockbuster, and I had free rentals, and I just thought, I'm going to watch everything I've never seen before, including this movie. Don't remember loving it. Sort of felt I needed to watch it as an 80s movie fan. The soundtrack for me was more important than the movie, just because in the 80s I was more a music guy than a movie guy. And even with the soundtrack, there were some songs that I liked and some songs that I'm like, not so much. And it could just be because in the 80s, some of them were just so overplayed. But
sure, I
did not remember having a great relationship with this movie. Now I found out they remade this in, I want to say, like 2011 or something, which shocked me to know. I can proudly say I have not seen that, and I have no intention of ever seeing.
I'll never watch it yet.
So in any case, when I went to try and find this movie, all I could find on the streamers was the new version, which was a bit of a pain in the butt. But anyway, I found it eventually, had a chance to watch it, and actually really liked it.
Oh, wow. I didn't expect that.
I was expecting to.
Oh, wow.
Like, I felt the distance and the time from its release helped it for me. The fact that I didn't have a pre-existing relationship, this wasn't a movie that's on TV all the time that I keep watching.
No, it's not.
And even the music, I found I really, really liked the music a lot more as I'm watching this film. I'm hearing the music, and to me, it was sort of that nostalgia bomb where these songs that I wouldn't normally, like, if they showed up on my playlist, on my 80s playlist, I might just skip over them. But the fact that they were in these movies and you could really understand, like, oh, well, this song was a pivotal part of this part of the movie, which was important to the story for these reasons. It really, really hit me. That nostalgia really hit me, even though I never saw it in the theater. I never owned the soundtrack. I never owned the video. It was really a powerful nostalgia for me, like more than a lot of the movies we watch, just because I think a lot of the movies we did something like Ferris Bueller, like, I've seen that movie 100 times.
Right.
Like, yeah, there's nostalgia, but it's never not been in my life.
Right.
Whereas Footloose, coming to it now, because I don't have that history with it, I was almost able to feel like I was enjoying it for the first time. Like, so much of the movie I just had no memory of because I'd only ever seen it once before. And I was able to just enjoy it and sort of put myself back in that 1984 as I'm watching it and enjoying it from that perspective, but also thinking after the fact about, like, how some of the themes and topics and issues that are brought up in this movie are still very relevant today.
Yeah.
And you could definitely see it through today's lens in a very positive and meaningful way, but I'm sure we'll get into all of that. So anyway, that's my short initial synopsis.
Like it. So I saw this movie in the theater back in 1984. I was 14 years old. I remember me and my best friend going to see it, and I remember we kind of went into it sort of under the impression that it was like a chick flick, like that was a thing back in the 80s, right? Yeah. And I remember that I actually really liked it when I first saw it. I thought it was really good. And going back and watching it this week, I liked it again. I thought it was really enjoyable. I thought it was a really, really good movie overall.
Yeah, I agreed.
One thing I wanted to ask you, so I mentioned to my wife, we're going to do Footloose. And she's like, oh, that's a good movie. That's a musical. And remember we did a podcast on movie musicals. I don't know if we discussed this movie or not, but it's not a musical.
It didn't make the list.
Yeah, it's not a musical.
Not in the traditional sense. And that's funny you bring that up, because do you remember a while back, I'm going to go on a tangent, but I promise I'm going to bring it back.
Yeah.
I was talking about how I was getting access to some cable channels that were on trial. And one of the ones was a music channel. I would record like music documentaries. Also on that same channel, they did a show called Nothing But Trailers, and they would have theme episodes, and they had all these 80s theme episodes for a while where it was like 80s action movies, 80s comedies, 80s teen movies. And they had one that was 80s musicals. And this was one of the trailers they showed. And I was like, I don't know if, like, I wouldn't call this a musical. Now, they had Little Shop of Horrors. That's a musical.
That's a musical.
Grease,
people break into song.
I mean, Grease is even from the 70s, but
yeah,
you know what I mean? That
Hairspray, they break
that's
into
a musical.
Song. Yeah.
But then they also had this, and they had like La Bamba, which is more a biopic about a musician.
Yeah.
I wouldn't call it a musical.
Me neither.
So I thought you might bring this up, and I'm thinking back to when we did Breakin' 2, Electric Boogaloo.
Yes.
And we say that with the most high regard.
I love that movie.
And I was saying how in a musical, people burst out into song for no apparent reason. but in Breakin' 2 Electric Boogaloo, people broke out into dance for no apparent reason, and I called it, like, instead of a musical, it was a danceicle.
Yes.
And I found this to me was at risk of going down that road because there was a fair amount of dancing. I mean, it's called Footloose, which obviously dancing term. But I never felt that the dancing was not completely grounded in the story that was being told. It wasn't just we're at a town council meeting and the whole council stands up and sings and dances.
Exactly.
Like that would be a musical.
That's a musical.
There were certainly dancing scenes and even dancing montages because every 80s movie has a montage. Even Rocky had a montage.
Yep, this one has 3.
This one has a bunch of montages with the dancing, but they all felt necessary and relevant for the story to move forward.
I agree.
And I never once felt they were just gratuitous for the sake of, let's just have a big musical number right now.
Right.
I mean, you could argue maybe the end, the prom, but they're at a prom. Of course
they're all dancing.
Singing and dancing.
Like, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, so Derek, I always ask you, can you name the top grossing movie of 1984?
84. Was that Ghostbusters?
It was Ghostbusters. Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom was second. Gremlins third. Karate Kid 4, and Police Academy was number 5.
Wow.
And then
Police Academy
it was pretty popular. And then rounding out the top 10 at number 6 was Footloose. And then that was followed up by Beverly Hills Cop, which was released in December. So it actually dominated the box office the next year.
The next year, yeah.
Number 8 was Star Trek 3, The Search for Spock, Terms of Endearment 9, and Romancing the Stone, round out the top 10. So this film...
Strong list.
Yeah, it was pretty good movies. So Footloose was made on a budget of $7.5 million. Took in over 10 times that amount. So
yeah, no kidding.
I want to get into some trivia on the movie. I have a lot of notes that I took on this movie.
Oh my God. Are you going to step all over my fun with Caveman here? You probably are.
I don't know if I do. I'm sorry. I've done used to do that to
right.
Yancey. So this takes place in the fictional town of Beaumont. And I don't think they ever mention which state the town is in. There's mountains in the background.
Yeah, they sort of imply it's sort of like that middle America, northern, although they...
Yep.
So I thought about, again, I'm going to go a roundabout on this one. This movie starts on basically the first day of school and it ends with the prom, which I assume happens at the end of the school year. So we get a full school year, including Christmas time, which we don't actually see Christmas per se, but it obviously happens. And we don't get snow at any point in this movie. So I got to think it's far enough south that snow is not an issue. So that should help us narrow down where it might
If it helps, it was based on the real town of Elmore City, Oklahoma. So Elmore City had forbidden dancing in the town since it was incepted.
Wow.
And then in 1979, a bunch of high school students petitioned for the rules to be changed so they could have a prom. And they actually got into an argument, like a fight with their local United Church minister. So that was the inspiration for this movie. And the writer was Dean Pritchford. He was a lyricist for a bunch of songs from the movie Fame. He wrote the lyrics for the songs Fame and for I Sing the Body Electric from that movie.
Okay.
And
I'm just looking them up right now. Yeah, there we go.
Took a lot of drafts. I think it was over 20 drafts they did of this. And he finally got the script done for Footloose based on Elmore City. So that was one thing. The original title of the film was Cheek to Cheek. Not a great title. Yeah.
No, this new title is better. I'm just looking up that guy who wrote it. He won an Oscar for Fame for Best Original Song.
Yeah, he did for Fame.
Wow, good for him.
That's right. So like I say, he called it Cheek to Cheek. Didn't like the title. Good, because the title sucks. But he just was writing, and then he liked the phrase "footloose and fancy free." And the word "footloose" just jumped out at him, and it ended up being a good choice. I agree with that.
It's a great choice.
Yeah. So they originally hired Michael Cimino to direct this movie.
Why do I know that name?
He won Best Director for The Deer Hunter, and then he went on to direct one of the biggest bombs in Hollywood history with Heaven's Gate.
I don't know Heaven's Gate, but...
Oh my God, it's like one of the biggest bombs of all time. It totally wrecked
All right, I know what we're watching next week. Heaven's Gate, write it down. No.
So... they brought him in, and he wanted to make this movie like a darker kind of film, and he also demanded $250,000 to rewrite the script. So they let him go, and they brought in Herbert Ross. So Herbert Ross had directed movies back in the 70s, like The Goodbye Girl and California Suite, And he was nominated for Best Directing Oscar for Turning Point in 1977. Much better fit for this movie.
Hey, he directed the Michael J. Fox masterpiece, The Secret of My Success, from 1987. Oh my God, I love that movie.
Yes. Okay, so let's take a look at the cast. But before we do, I always like to take a look at some actors that didn't get cast. So, Christopher Atkins. He was considered for the part of Ren McCormick.
From the Blue Lagoon? Is that guy? Is that what I'm thinking?
That's the one. John Bon Jovi was offered the lead role of Ren McCormick, and he turned it down because his band was just starting to take off.
Talk about a sliding doors moment.
I know. Tom Cruise was actually hired to play Ren McCormick, but his schedule on All the Right Moves didn't allow him to do it, so he had to turn it down. Rob Lowe auditioned several times, finally won the role. Then he blew out his knee, and so he couldn't do it. He couldn't do the dancing.
I didn't realize you used your knee to smoke drugs, but okay. Today I learned.
Madonna even read for the part of Ariel, believe it or not.
Oof,
John Travolta turned down the part of Ren. And
Daryl, been like 40 at that point? Come on, you're supposed to be playing a high school student.
Daryl Hannah turned it down. Daryl Hannah turned down Ariel because she wanted to star in Splash. So also, I put together a list of other actresses that were all offered the part of Ariel but turned it down. Okay,
lay it on me.
Melanie Griffith, Michelle Pfeiffer, Jamie Lee Curtis, Rosanna Arquette, Heather Locklear, Julia Louis-Dreyfus, Jodie Foster, Phoebe Cates, Tatum O'Neal, Bridget Fonda, and Brooke Shields.
Yeah, I don't believe that many performers were literally offered the part. I find, no offense to your trivia, I mean, it's half-assed on the internet anytime. Anytime you get a list like that, you got to think that they just sort of ran down the list of who's who in 1984 and went, we want to offer it to all these people. I'll believe for a second. I do believe that some of them probably legit were. And like you said, people like Daryl Hannah had other projects that panned out really well. But it's some of those you think like, could you think of Elaine on Seinfeld doing that? Like, how would her career have changed? Like, would she have already been on Saturday Night Live at that point?
Yes. Yeah, because she was on Saturday Night Live from like 80 to like 82, 83. So,
yeah. So, interesting.
Yeah. So Kevin Bacon, obviously, so he made his film debut in Animal House, and he was also in the first Friday the 13th. But I think it was...
Really?
Yeah.
Didn't know that.
Oh, yeah.
Never seen it.
He was in Diner in 1982. That's the movie that really got him recognized in Hollywood. But this was his first sort of leading role. Just the other night, I was flipping around on TV and I watched A Few Good Men. It came on.
Oh my God. That movie's so good.
Oh God, that movie's good. He is actually a really good actor. He's very charismatic and he's kind of unconventional. I don't know. There's just something about him. I think he's just a unique, very talented actor. So the thing was, though, they hire him for this and the producers, they didn't feel that he was like quote unquote sexy enough. So they made him wear these like super tight jeans. They even pinned them in the back to make them seem even tighter. And the thing with him was he was actually a really good dancer, but they brought in like stunt doubles for him, I guess.
Yeah, I kind of got that impression with some of the scenes where it's like, yeah, it was like they weren't showing his face. It was a quick cuts. And I was like, Same with the gymnastics. I'm like, is that him?
So he actually trained like hell for those gymnastic scenes. And he apparently like wore the skin off his hands when he was training. Wow. But for all the stuff in like the abandoned factory when he was spinning around and stuff, they just brought in a double. It was actually, there was a U.S. Olympian at the time. You remember Mitch Gaylord? He was a famous Olympian. They brought in his brother, Chuck Gaylord, to do all that acrobatic stuff in that scene. So, and then the other thing about Kevin Bacon in this movie, which I thought was interesting, the scene when he has to address the town council, even though the guy's an actor and has been in Hollywood movies, he was apparently terrified of public speaking. So he had
I've heard that a lot about performers.
Isn't that interesting?
Weird to me.
Yeah. He had to take Valium to calm himself down to pull off that scene. Isn't that crazy?
Rob Lowe wouldn't have needed that. He would have nailed that the first time. He would have had his own prescription.
Well, he would have had his own Valium, right? So
well,
the thing with Kevin Bacon too is he was actually offered the lead role in the Stephen King movie Christine, and he turned it down just for a chance to audition for this movie. 30 seconds into his screen test, they offered him the part. So it was apparently a really good screen test. So we mentioned all the actresses, and whether you questioning this or not, another thing. But all the actresses that turned down the part of Ariel, but Laurie Singer got the part. So she is the sister of Mark Singer, the actor. I don't know if you know him.
Oh, okay.
He was in V, that TV series, and he was the Beastmaster.
Beastmaster.
He did a movie up here in Canada back in like '82. It was called "If You Could See What I Hear," about the blind
I've seen it.
musician
I've seen
Tom
that
Sullivan.
one.
Yeah. So Laurie Singer was in the TV version of Fame, and she did some other small parts in movies and TV, but she's mostly known for this movie. I think. But
she's still alive.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. In fact, she went into documentary filmmaking. She was an executive director and did voiceovers in a bunch of docs. She was recognized at the Toronto Hot Dogs Festival. She was nominated for 5 Primetime Emmy Awards for documentaries. She won 3 of them, and she won a Peabody Award for all of her work in documentaries.
High praise.
Yeah.
Nice.
So she kind of went into the documentaries and stuff. But I thought she was really good in this movie. I thought she was great.
Yeah, well, I mean, I found that, and I find this with a lot of those movies from the 80s, is the parts for the women aren't usually written that well, because 9 times out of 10, or probably even more often than that, the movies are written by dudes, and they just can't write for women. Especially back then, it was like guys anticipating or imagining what they think a woman would talk like, especially an old white man writing for a teenage girl. Like, come on. But this character had an important part in this movie, and there were certainly some key scenes where a lesser performer might not have pulled it off, and it might not have sold it as well. So I did think she did a good job. I just didn't feel that the role itself was necessarily a wow kind of role.
It was sort of, it had different layers to it, like the fact that when she's straddling the car and stuff, like you're like, is she like suicidal, or is she just crazy, or she just wants to break away from being the minister's daughter? I thought she was pretty good. So speaking of minister, I think
she was good. I just didn't think the part was necessarily that
makes sense. I want to talk about John Lithgow. So this guy, he's practically born into the theater. So his mother was an actress, his father was a theater director and producer. And his father moved his family. They moved all over the country to to go to different theater company jobs that he had. And then once John got the acting bug, man, he won Tony Awards. He was a really successful theater actor, probably best known for his TV show Third Rock from the Sun. But he started out in film roles. So his breakout role was in The World According to Garp. Have you ever seen that movie, Derek?
No, we've talked about that before. I know of it, and I know of his role, but I've never seen the movie. I'm not really familiar with I know specifically his part, but I don't really know much about it.
I've mentioned before, I was never a huge Robin Williams fan. I always thought he was a little bit sort of out there and crazy, but in Garp, he's like reserved, and the movie is fantastic. And John Lithgow, man, he was amazing. He played a transgender character, Roberto Muldoon.
Like a football player that becomes a woman.
Exactly.
Right?
I still think it's one of the benchmarks for trans characters, especially like back in the 80s. Like a lot of transgender characters back then, even now, I think are sort of played over the top, but he just humanized the character.
Played for laughs, unfortunately.
Yeah. So he was actually nominated for Best Supporting Actor for that part. So he was up against, he was up against Robert Preston from Victor Victoria, James Mason for The Verdict, Charles Durning for Best Little Whorehouse in Texas, odd choice. But the winner, it's just a tough one. I guess he deserved it. He really deserved it. Lou Gossett Jr. for An Officer and a Gentleman.
Okay, yeah. I was going to say, how'd the guy from The Verdict not win? I'm like, I see
Lou
where that
Gossett
was
Jr.
going.
I don't know, but John Lithgow was, oh man. He was also nominated for Best Supporting Actor for Terms of Endearment. So
I don't even remember him in that movie. Yeah. Okay. It's been a long time since I've seen it.
So he starts out, he's a film actor. And then what happened was, I think it maybe even from his childhood, moving around all the time and stuff, he just got tired of being away from his family and being on set all the time. So he wanted something stable. So he went into TV. That's why he did Third Rock from the Sun. I mean, you could say that it affected his career, like as a serious film actor, but it's a choice he made. Good for him. He did what he needed to do, so good on him.
Well, and I've as a fan of pop culture, I find that when a serious actor takes a comedic role, whether it's in a movie or TV, especially with a sitcom, it often brings something to the part that a comedian coming in might not have. And I think that John Lithgow coming in as a very serious, very respected, dramatic actor coming into Third Rock from the Sun to play the lead in a comedy series actually helped a lot. Because while I didn't watch it while it was on, I went back and watched the first few seasons many years later, and I was really surprised at how much I enjoyed it. And I really felt that a big part of that was what he brought to the table. Because honestly, I never really thought of him as he was never someone that I was a big fan of growing up. And it was years later when I went back to watch that Third Rock from the Sun, I'm like, wow, this guy actually is really good. Like, I think I gotta go back and revisit some of his things.
Still a lot of other good cast members in this film. I think it's one of the strong parts of the movie. So I want to talk about Frances Lee McCain. She played Ren's mom. She was the quintessential 80s movie mom. So she was.
I recognized her from Back to the Future right away.
Yes, Leah Thompson's mom. She's like, come in for dinner. Yeah. I remember that.
Do I know your mother?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you do.
She was the mom in Stand By Me. And she was the mom in Gremlins too. Remember that scene in the kitchen when she fights all those gremlins with a knife and she puts someone in the microwave? Like, it's so good. And Diane Wiest was John Lithgow's wife and Ariel's mom.
Yeah.
So when she originally wanted to be a ballerina of all things, and she went into acting, and she landed the role of Desdemona with James Earl Jones in Othello. And that was her first breakout role. And then she went on to win 2 Best Supporting Actress Oscars for Hannah and Her Sisters and Bullets Over Broadway. And then she was nominated for a 3rd Oscar, this time for Best Actress for Parenthood. So, but I always remember her from Edward Scissorhands.
Oh, yeah.
Loved her in that movie. She's a very talented actress. But
she was the mom in The Lost Boys. That's where I always remember.
Yes.
That was sort of my introduction to her. That's where I remember seeing her first. And then in the 90s, she joined the cast of Law and Order as the district attorney in the mid to late 90s.
Right.
And again, at that point, I was like, oh, yeah, that's a. So, yeah, the movies she won those awards for, like, I've never seen any of them. I know they're all like dramatic, important movies, but I'm just like, never seen any of them.
They were.
Yeah.
So Sarah Jessica Parker, she started out on Broadway doing Annie. And then she did Square Pegs, which was a personal favorite of mine. Yeah. I like that one. And then she kind of disappeared for a while there, and she kind of reinvented herself. And she kind of reappeared in Steve Martin's LA Story. Kind of as a sex symbol. And then she went on to do Sex and the City.
Would we say that? Like that seems
I think
a little.
In that movie, remember she was wearing those. She was wearing those tight clothes and stuff. Remember, like,
let's just say more fashion. Like, let's lean on the fashion side of that rather than the sexy side of that. I think I'll give you that.
And speaking of fashion, obviously, Sex and the City was big. Of course, in terms of that. And she's been married to Matthew Broderick since '97. I thought she was awesome in this movie. She was so charismatic. Oh,
yeah. Small part, but did a lot with what she had. Again, going back to my thing about the roles the roles that the women had in this movie were not necessarily big parts and not necessarily written to be fantastic. But I thought her very small part, well, not even very small, her small-ish part, she did a really great job. And speaking of Diane Wiest, she only had a couple of, like, she was in a bunch of stuff, but didn't really have to do much. But she had a couple of scenes, and I thought she nailed them. Yeah, like, I couldn't imagine anyone else doing a better job. You can tell that you bring in a professional, you got to nail these 3 scenes, and they're going to be pivotally important to the film, and bam, 10 out of 10 every time. Sarah Jessica Parker, similar. Yeah. I wouldn't say 10 out of 10, but brought a lot to what was a relatively small and relatively minor sort of supporting part, but was important, and I think she nailed it.
Back in the day when I used to do a lot of theater acting and stuff, this one director, he always stuck out in my mind. He used to always say, and it's an old saying, but there's no small parts, only small actors. So, he goes, you got to bring it. And Sarah Jessica Parker does. I mean, when they go to that bar, they go dancing. Yes, that's exactly energy is just infectious. Like, oh, she was great. But the one that wouldn't dance in that scene was Chris Penn. And I want to talk about him.
Stop pointing that gun at my dad!
Yeah.
That's what we always think of from Reservoir Dogs.
Of course, from Reservoir Dogs. But before this, he did All the Right Moves. And then this movie. And then he kind of disappeared for a bit. And then he popped up again in Reservoir Dogs. But he'd put on a bunch of weight. And he looked kind of different. And he was also in True Romance, wasn't he?
He was in True Romance, yeah.
And then he battled heart disease and drug addiction, and he died when he was only 40. He was really
rough,
young.
man.
But a couple of those smaller roles in this movie I want to mention too. So John Lawlin, I want to mention. So he's the guy in their kind of friend group that was kind of like the tougher guy. Remember, he stands up to the bad guys.
Oh, at the phone booth there?
Yeah, he's got him at the phone booth, the two of them. He's like their muscle, right?
Yeah.
So I think his character was Woody or something like that. But I remember him from An Officer and a Gentleman. He was the local redneck that Richard Gere beats up at the bar. To me, he kind of looks like Michael Shuffling from 16 Candles or something. I don't know. That just came to mind. But, okay, so Timothy Scott, I want to talk about. He was the local guy that hires Ren at the feed mill. He's wearing the ball cap and got the mustache.
Oh, okay. Yeah. At the end where he's like, Reverend, didn't expect to see you? Okay.
Yes. Because he was in the scene at the feed mill, the town council, and then that scene when he's talking to their parents on the edge of town, right?
Yeah.
And he had some small roles in like Fried Green Tomatoes and Days of Heaven, but he was a theater actor. And so what he did was he actually co-founded the new Met Theater in Los Angeles with James Gammon. I don't know if you know him. He's the actor.
I don't know what any of those things are.
James Gammon. And so he just formed this theater company with his partner, James Gammon, who was the guy that played the manager of the Cleveland Indians in Major League. Remember Lou Brown?
Oh, yeah.
Got a guy about some white walls on the other line.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So anyway, so those two guys found a theater company together in L.A. And, I want to mention Jim Youngs, too. He was the bad guy, Chuck Cranston. So he wasn't even an actor. And then on a lark, he went with his sister on a casting call for the movie The Wanderers. And he was asked to audition and he won a role in that movie. And then he moved to LA from like New York City. And he got roles in like The Executioner's Song and Youngblood. Remember that one?
I do, yeah.
The hockey one before he did this. So anyway, so
Speaking of Rob Lowe.
yeah, I think the cast was pretty good. But I want to just circle back a little bit to the music because there's a lot of music. I even like they even talk about music a lot in this.
Yes.
I like when Kevin Bacon's talking to Chris Penn's character when they first meet, and he's like, "You like Men at Work?" And he's like, "Where do they work? You heard of the police?" Yeah. No, but I see them.
I've seen them once.
Behind, yeah. He's like behind you because they get pulled over, and we cannot talk about music in this movie without mentioning Kenny Loggins. So
no, the king of soundtracks,
king of 80s movie soundtracks for sure. You want to take a guess at how many movies and TV shows separately? We'll do them separately. Movies first and then TV shows that Kenny Loggins has done songs for. How many movies do you think Kenny Loggins has done?
So they talk about every time he shows up on one of my 80s countdowns, this is a piece of trivia they talk about. And I think it's either 5 or 7. I want to say 7.
Go with 7, but you'd be wrong. It was 19.
Movies,
19
really?
movies have featured a Kenny Loggins song in them. And how many TV shows do you think?
Oh, I couldn't even guess. Probably not nearly that many. I'm going to say like 6.
Yeah, 40 TV shows featured a Kenny Loggins
now,
song.
hold on. Are each of those movies and each of those TVs featuring different songs, or is like this song appeared in 9 TV shows?
I don't know. I mean, it could be if the one song appeared in multiple shows. I mean, thanks.
Yeah.
But, okay, so some of the songs. So my absolute favorite song in this whole movie was Let's Hear It for the Boy. So,
yeah, you've mentioned that before.
Man, it's such a great 80s song. But originally, they shot this scene where he's teaching him how to dance with a different song. It was a song called Somebody's Eyes by Carla Bonoff.
Never heard of it.
Me either. And the director just felt it wasn't working. It needed a more uplifting song. So they got it. Let's Hear It for the Boy. I think it is one of the... It's such an 80s song. It's just so good. But other songs that were in there, like Almost Paradise, Footloose, of course, Never Ever, and Heaven Helps the Man. Pretty amazing soundtrack, I would say.
You forgot Dancing in the Sheets by Shalimar.
Shalimar, that's right.
I love that song. I was like, oh my God, that's in it. And then there was a second one by Kenny Loggins, I'm Free, which when they
That's the Heaven Helps the Man, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm like, yeah, I'm Free brackets, Heaven Helps Me. They're playing it. I'm like, I know this song. Because again, I listen to those 80s countdowns all the time. I'm like, what is this? And then when I heard the voice, I'm like, this has to be Kenny Loggins. And literally I looked it up. I'm like, oh my God, it's totally Kenny Loggins. Look at that. 2 on the same soundtrack. And then there were some other big hits that were in the song that were on the soundtrack, or rather in the movie, but not on the soundtrack. You had Hurt So Good by Mellencamp, which was played a couple of times. Again, it was big on his own album. You didn't have to worry about that. So there was a couple songs like that.
But I will say about Hurt So Good, when it comes on, like that was one of my standards when I used to DJ weddings. It always packed the dance floor. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So,
Waiting for a Girl Like You by Foreigner. That's the other one. I'm just looking at the list now. That one
and
came
Mental
up a couple
Health
times
by
again.
Quiet Riot. He was playing it in his car, but I don't think it was on the
pulled
soundtrack.
over by the cops.
Yeah.
I don't see it here. And I don't know if Waiting for a Girl Like You by Foreigner or Hurt So Good were actually on the soundtrack. But again, featured in the movie.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned before about montages. So I mentioned there was 3, because I mean it wouldn't be an 80s movie without a montage, let's be honest. So there's the Let's Hear It for the Boy when he's teaching him how to dance, the Never Ever song in the Old Abandoned Warehouse.
Now, would you call that a montage?
Yes, because
that's like just one long extended dance sequence. I don't know if I would call that a montage.
No, because of all the flashbacks. It's got the flashbacks of all the things that have happened to him in the small towns.
All right, I'll give you that one.
Yeah. And then Heaven Helps the Man when they're setting up the dance. So there was that whole montage when they're putting together the prom.
Okay, I'll give you that one too.
Montage is multiple things happening to make time, to speed up, right? So
yeah. Okay.
Let's talk a little bit about some of the scenes in the movie. I want to just start with the opening credits. I absolutely love the opening shot of all the dancing feet.
I did too. I really liked it more than I expected to. And I was like, oh my God, this is, again, I sort of remembered it. But when I'm watching it, I was like, this is a really clever way to do this. And then at the end, when they're doing the prom, there was a lot of shots of the feet and the legs and the boots and the shoes. And I was like, that's a good way to sort of bookend the movie. Like, and obviously a very deliberate choice.
Absolutely. And I think that was really cool at the beginning too, how they showed like a diversity. Because there's like high heels and army boots and dance shoes. Like it's like everybody likes to dance, was kind of the message, right? Yeah. So, okay. So another scene I want to talk about, kind of mentioned it before, when Ariel straddles the 2 vehicles. Okay. First thing I want to talk about is the bad guy, Chuck. I want to talk about his pickup truck. So he drives up alongside the girls. First of all, he's drinking beer while he's driving the car. But it's his pickup truck I want to talk about.
A redneck drinking beer? You're kidding me. That never happens.
So his truck, I took some notes of the things I noticed about his truck. Deer antlers on the roof. Yep. He's got an oil barrel in the back. He's got all this stuff on the dash. He's got the ghetto blaster in the back window. He's got stickers on the back window. And then he's got a bumper sticker that just says, "Hunting, no trespassing." So it's just like, let's put as much redneck stuff as we can into this guy's truck. But then the scene itself, she climbs out of the window of the car and she's straddling like the 2 vehicles, and then the truck's coming the other way, and she gets pulled into the window,
into the cab rather than the back. Yeah,
physically impossible. There's no way that could happen. Like no way in living hell. I know she's thin and everything, but there's no way she's getting pulled into that window. So that was weird. When you were mentioning about the Shalimar song, when they were playing it at the
diner.
It was kind of like a
right at the beginning
drive-in restaurant or whatever it was.
Yeah.
When John Lithgow shows up and when he like pops the tape out of the ghetto blaster, as soon as he does, you hear the Pac-Man Game Over sound effect. Such an 80s sound effect. So that was funny. One thing I also noticed was I thought there was some really good framing shots throughout the movie. So when Ren's mom comes into the bathroom, he's getting dressed for his first day at the new school. Remember, she's like, "You're going to wear that tie? You look like David Bowie." And both Ren and his mom are visible in the vanity mirror. Like, I thought it was a really cool sort of composure for the shot.
I noticed that a few times where the mirror, like there was a couple of scenes in the cars where you could see people either reflected in the windows or reflected in the mirrors in a way that was clearly a very deliberate artistic choice. Like it wasn't an accident. You only see half of their face. It's like it was framed in a very deliberate way.
Yeah, like when she's breaking up with Chuck, it's shot from inside the pickup truck.
Yeah, that's
you see her facing the camera. He's facing away from the camera, but you see his face in the side view mirror.
It wasn't even the mirror. It was that little triangular window that's half propped open.
Right.
Very deliberate that it's reflective. Yeah.
When she sneaks out of the house too, she goes out the front door. And it was in like the left of the frame, and there's a window on the right frame where her dad is seen inside. again, it's just really cool framing, I thought, by the director.
Yeah, someone's doing their job right. And again, probably lost on a lot of the younger people, when, especially the first time you're seeing this. But you and I are movie nerds. We pick up on this stuff.
And that's kind of our thing. So, so when they go to that bar, and she just, Sarah Jessica Parker just can't contain herself, and she goes out dancing. And then Sean Penn's there. He's basically like her boyfriend, I guess. But he
Chris
can't.
Penn, not Sean Penn.
Chris Penn, sorry. And he obviously he's not a dancer, right? So he just sits there and drinks a bunch of beer. And then she goes out on the dance floor and she starts dancing with some random country hick. What is he, like 40 years old at least?
Yeah, I was thinking that too.
Was she like maybe 17? Like, that was so weird, you know?
Well, and even when he says, he goes, that girl came with me, and he's like, well, she's not leaving with you, implying she's leaving with me. And
exactly.
I'm like, dude, how? She's young enough to be your daughter.
No kidding.
Come on, man.
And so yeah, and the other thing too with that scene is, this is where they're establishing that Willard can't dance. But here's the thing I'm thinking about: dancing is banned in town, so shouldn't it be like everyone in Beaumont doesn't know how to dance, not just him? Like, if you think about it,
I think the implication is that, you know, whether you're a quote unquote dancer or you just know how to move to the music. And I mean, I can remember back in high school dances when I was young, the girls would always just get up and move to the music. They had so much confidence and they honestly didn't give a crap. Whereas the boys were always so self-conscious of, oh, I'm not a good dancer. It's like, honestly, nobody cares. Just
only
get out
for
there
the slow songs
and have fun.
That was it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I do think my favorite scene in the movie is when he teaches him how to dance. Like, the great song, like I said. And I love how it starts out with he's got to teach him how to like keep time by snapping his fingers. And I love when he's upstairs dancing in his house and his parents are in the kitchen and like the light fixture is shaking. It's so good. Yeah. And then at the end of the movie too, when he comes out, when Willard dances and he does like the Saturday Night Fever pose.
Yes.
You know, and I love when somebody points at him and like Ariel screams. Like, I don't know, I thought it was so good. So, and I thought that was a really good movie montage. So I wanted to. Okay, so some things I want to talk about. Some things that were a little bit questionable in the film. We always like to talk about. So number one, there's some sexual references. So when Ren is in the cafeteria with Willard, he's like, "What do you guys do around here?" And Willard goes, "A lot of this," and he pumps his fist. And he, oh yeah, me too. And then when Ariel and Chuck are alone out in the country, her pants are unzipped.
I noticed that too. I'm
very
they have
clear.
Definitely just had sex.
Yes,
yeah,
I agree.
And then she even says later to her dad, I'm not a virgin."
Right. And you know that, like, because initially, like, that scene is very, very well done by the actors, because it almost comes off like, is she lying? But you know she's not lying in that scene. Yeah. She's being truthful. Yeah. I want to mention about hitting women, because there's a lot of hitting girls in this movie. Like, John Lithgow slaps her, Ariel, and so does Chuck when they break up. And then, like, first he slaps her, and then I like that she fights back and just smashes the living hell of his truck. But then he punches her in the face.
Straight up punches her in the face, and then she's always like, I'm just gonna go home. It's like, how are you not going to the police to report this? I mean, again, time and place. The police are probably not going to do anything. They're probably going to blame her. Well, you must have done something to provoke him. He friggin' punched her in the face. Like, come on. But that was kind of tough to watch, just knowing, because I knew, even though I didn't really know, I'm like, so he beats her up, and it's like, there are going to be no consequences for this guy other than maybe the consequence of his peers, which ultimately there is. They beat him up at the end, but it's like come on. And yeah, the fact that the father slaps her in the face, like, I got to think a lot of parents did that to their kids, and it was just accepted that that's the way that you discipline your child at a certain point. I don't agree with it at all, and I'm shocked that people accepted it back then. But yeah, it was in a movie that I really was having a good time with. Those scenes were tough. I mean, I think scene where the boyfriend beats her up, you need some sort of conflict there. I don't agree with the way it came together. Looking back at it with today's lens, there had to be some sort of, I don't want to say violence, but there needed to be something, because then that sets up what comes later. But yeah, it was a bit of a black, well, not a bit. It was a black mark on the movie at that point.
And it's interesting how Ren reacts, because he obviously knows it happens, right? He tries to support her. That leads to their screen kiss, which I thought was a really good scene too. You know, and then like he's there for her and stuff, and again, the framing of the shot was cool with all the train tracks and the factory and everything. Really well done by the director. And then the last thing was the final dance. My one thing about it, I like how the parents, they come to the edge of town there just to watch, and then they're having a conversation together, and they're like, I think the wife says, it's just the two of us again.
Yeah.
Derek, I personally can't wait for this part of my life to come. When the kids are gone, it's just me and my wife together again. So I can totally relate to that scene. And also then there was that fight outside the dance, which I thought was pretty good, and it sets it up for Kevin Bacon to come swooping back in and then just
get a little
lead everybody dancing
there at the end.
So that was good. I don't know.
Yeah, the no, I agree. I really enjoyed it. It was a fun movie to come back to. Again, like I said, I'd only ever seen it once before, and no, I really liked it. I liked it a lot more than I was expecting to like it.
Oh yeah, you threw me off, because at the end of last week when I mentioned we're going to do Footloose, you were like, oh, you groaned. And I was like, oh man, we're in trouble. But I'm glad that you liked it. I thought it was quite good. Do you want to give it a rating out of 10 for me?
I'm going to go with an 8. I really liked it.
Oh, wow.
I think it really held up well.
Wow.
I liked. Sorry, I want to sort of cycle back, because I know we usually end with the ranking, but one of the things we didn't really talk about was the actual theme of the movie, the idea that the dancing has been banned, the music has been banned, and that it was one of the things that I had absolutely no memory of was the reason that some of that had come into place was because some kids had died, and one of them being the son of the preacher, her brother. I'm like, that was completely new to me. I did not remember that from the first time through. But this idea that it's almost like a hyper overreaction. Something happens and a corrective measure needs to be taken, and it, like, in the moment might seem like, yeah, that's the thing, but it's clearly been a long time. It's been years, and either some people who may not agree with it don't feel comfortable standing up, or the other people are just like, well, it is what it is. I can't make a difference. And it's like, that to me was a theme that really resonated with the way the world is today, of how many people may see an injustice and feel that they are powerless to do anything to change it, or that, it is what it is. We have to accept it. It's not my place to stand up to it. It's been this way for however long. And it's an important theme. Whether
and it takes an outsider to come in,
it sort of does. You can look at it as like, it's a movie about censorship, which sure, it can definitely be interpreted that way. But even more, just the idea of the people in power make a decision and everybody goes along with it for whatever reason, right? Like whether they all agreed with it on the first day and a year later they maybe don't, but they don't feel powerful enough to do anything about it. And that sort of comes full circle with the book burning scene, where even the priest comes back later and he's like, he calls them out on it, and they're like, well, we feel these books are bad. And while clearly the preacher was at the forefront of no music, no dancing,
that was the turning point.
He's not just blinded to everything. It's like, hey, like the one line that I was really expecting and didn't get out of this movie was the priest to actually say to these people, have any of you actually read these books? And while it's not said out loud, I kind of got that impression that was the unspoken line that.
Well, because the rednecks, they don't read.
Well, yeah. And the priest seems so educated. He talked about going to conferences, and you got the sense that like he's an educated man. And any educated person who is well read will tell you, like, the best way to argue against your opponent is to understand what their arguments are. And if that means reading the things that they find important, that will be helpful for you to frame an argument to counteract whatever points they're going to have. And that's what Ren ultimately does with the help of the preacher's daughter, is they uses the Bible's lines to call out the priest and say, like, while you think dancing and music is bad, the Bible, which you hold in such high regard, clearly has passages that say there is a time, there is a place. It can't just be a blanket statement that it's bad forever. And by the end of the movie, we have that. There's a concession made. So that, I think, is part of the reason I really, really enjoyed this movie this time around, was I really felt that the message, while it came from 1984, is somewhat of a timeless message, whether you want to apply it to music or whether you want to apply it to politics of today. it's still relevant. And that, I think that's really why I liked it. So yeah, I'm gonna go back to giving it that 8 out of 10.
Yeah, I'm going to give it 8 out of 10 as well. And I just to sort of piggyback on what you were saying, I think you're absolutely right in everything that you're saying there. One thing that I always tell my students when it comes to, like, if you really want to develop critical thought and the ability to just kind of really think about everything, is just ask yourself that one simple question: what's the best argument for the other side?
Yeah.
Let that hang for a second,
yeah,
and then kind of do it. So anyway, on that note, what do you say that we have some
fun with Caveman?
All right, as I am wont to do, now I usually run the trivia, and then when I do a movie, you do the trivia. So now I get to sit back and have myself a beverage finally, and I'm sort of thirsty from all this talking. So I'm going to sit back, and you're going to throw some trivia.
Thirsty for knowledge, there, buddy.
There
Drink
you go.
that knowledge.
All right.
Yeah. All right. So we talked about the soundtrack for this movie.
Yes.
And the fact that it had these great 80s songs. It was a great soundtrack. It actually was a big deal when it came out. It made a ton of cash. It was on the charts. It was okay. So here's a quick trivia question for you.
Sure.
How many weeks was the Footloose soundtrack number 1?
I will say it was on the number 1 for 4 weeks.
Way more than that. It was
really?
10 weeks.
Oh, wow.
It was sat at number 1 in 1984.
Wow.
Anyway, so I'm going to ask you a bunch of questions about movie soundtracks from the late 70s, the 80s, and the very early 90s.
Sure.
Okay. So, and I had multiple questions for these because I wasn't really sure which direction I wanted to go with this. So I got a bunch of stuff here. So we're going to dance all over the place. But this is what I want to do first.
Okay.
I have identified 9 soundtracks from 9 different years.
Okay.
I'm going to give you the year. The first thing I want to know is, can you name the most popular soundtrack from that year? Because that's probably the one I've picked.
Okay.
And if you can't, I'm going to give you the names of 2 or 3 of the songs that appear on that soundtrack.
Okay.
And then I'm going to give you a second crack at it. Okay?
Yeah.
All right. From 1992, what was the soundtrack?
I'm going to take a stab.
Don't overthink it. I'll give you some clues here. If you
Give me a clue, maybe.
All right. These are some of the songs that appeared on the soundtrack. Foxy Lady.
Oh, is it Wayne's World?
Weaver.
Wayne's World?
Bohemian Rhapsody. Yes, Wayne's World.
Yeah.
It appeared on the in 1992. It was the number 1 album for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
All right. 1984. What was the number 1 soundtrack of 1984? I'll give you a hint. It won the Grammy for Best Album of the Year.
It had to be Purple Rain.
It absolutely was Purple Rain.
Very good.
In 1984,
Yancey would be proud of me. Yep.
Yes. Okay. So Purple Rain was number 1 in 1984 for a whole bunch of weeks, and then for 2 additional weeks in 1985. In 1984, how many weeks do you think it was number 1?
Well, if Footloose was
Footloose was already up there
10.
for 10 weeks.
Purple Rain had to be, oh man.
Go high. Go higher than you're thinking.
20?
22 weeks.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
And then 2 more weeks the next. So 24 weeks, Purple Rain was number 1. And it won the Grammy for Best Album of the Year.
Yes, it did. I also want to give a shout out to 1984. One of my favorite soundtracks from that year was Electric Dreams. I mentioned it when we did our show with Greg when he was here. So
don't know that one.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah.
All right.
So, okay. Let's pick another year here. Okay.
Sure.
We're going to go, let's go to the 80s here. We'll get you something. Let's
like
go to the
80s.
70s.
Okay, go to the
70s.
Yep.
1978. It was the number 1 album of the year.
Had to be Grease.
No.
Oh, wow.
No, it was not. I'll give you a couple of the songs.
Yeah, you're going to have to give me some
an instant getaway. Let me give you all 3 of them.
Okay.
How Deep Is Your Love, Night Fever, and Staying Alive.
Oh, I thought that came out in 77. I thought that came out in 77, but it's got, so that's all from Saturday Night Fever.
Yes. How many weeks was Saturday Night Fever number 1 album?
So when that came out, I watched a documentary recently on the Bee Gees, and like that soundtrack was like massive, and rightly so.
It was massive.
It was so good, and it basically just dominated everything when it came out. So how many weeks? I'm just trying to think if it would go longer than...
I'll tell you, Purple Rain was 22 weeks in 1984. Do you think Saturday Night Fever was more or less? Let's just play it that way.
I'm going to say it was more.
It was. Give me a guess. It's more than 22.
25?
Close. It was 24 weeks.
Holy crap.
Like,
it was huge.
It was everywhere, yeah.
Massive.
Yep. All right. We are going to jump to the other end of my list, and we're going to go to 1995.
95.
I'll give you a hint.
Okay.
It was a kids movie. It was also nominated for Best Album of the Year.
Not sure.
And 3 of the songs that were on that album include Can You Feel the Love Tonight? Hakuna Matata and Circle of Life.
But I thought that was like 94 because that was The Lion King.
It was The Lion King. It hit number 1 in 1995.
Oh, I see. But it came out so I'm thinking movies from 94.
Yeah. I just went down the list and went, when was this number 1?
Okay.
All right.
Oh, I see.
We're going to go to 1987. Soundtrack that was the number 1 album for multiple weeks in 87. Can you guess what it was?
Oh,
if not, I'll give you some clues.
I gotta have to go back in time. I gotta think it's gonna be like Dirty Dancing.
It absolutely was Dirty Dancing. It had I've Had the Time of My Life.
Yeah.
She's Like the Wind and Hungry Eyes were all on that.
Yep.
How many weeks was it the number 1 album of 1987?
I will say it was for like 7 weeks.
Exactly 7.
Oh, hey, look at that.
Nicely done. Wow.
Good guess.
Okay.
Good, it was just a guess. That's all it was.
All right. In 1985, there was a soundtrack that was only on the charts for a couple of weeks, but it won the Grammy for Best Album of the Year. Can you name it?
And it was a soundtrack?
It was a soundtrack.
Oh, jeez. 85. No.
Pardon me. The Grammy that I'm talking about here, this is Grammy Award for Best Score or Soundtrack for Visual Media. It wasn't the actual album of the year. Saturday Night Fever was literally the number 1 album of the year, but all these other ones, Purple Rain, for example, that's the Grammy it won.
I don't know.
Songs on the album included New Attitude, The Neutron Dance, and The Heat Is On.
Oh, that's Beverly Hills Cop. Again, that came out in 84.
Yes,
But, yeah.
it did, but the album was
in
number
85.
1. How long was it number 1?
I think it would be shorter. I'll say like 4 weeks.
Yeah, it was only 2.
Oh, 2 weeks. Okay, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Let's go to 1994. I know it's a little out of your wheelhouse. I will tell you now, it was only the number 1 album for 1 week, but it was a big album through 94. Any guesses?
I'm thinking, can I ask for like a little bit of a hint? Was it like a compilation of like old songs all?
No.
So I was thinking like Forrest Gump.
Forrest Gump, no. I give you the titles of 3 of the songs of the album.
Yeah, give me that.
That may not help you, but I'm going to give them to you.
Give it to me.
Big Empty, Stone Temple Pilots, Burn by The Cure, and Dead Souls by 9 Inch Nails, which was a cover of a Joy Division song.
I have no idea. None.
Think goth. What was a big goth movie in the 90s?
The Crow?
The Crow, yeah. 1994. It hit number 1 for 1 week.
Wow.
So,
Okay.
I knew that was a tough one, but that's a good album. It's a really good album. I've listened to it recently. All right. I got 2 huge ones coming up here. It's huge movies. The soundtrack's maybe not so huge. All right. 1983. Movie soundtrack was number 1 for multiple weeks. Any guesses in 1983 what might be on the list?
I would go back there. I would say like Flashdance.
Yes, Flashdance.
Yeah.
Flashdance won the Grammy for that soundtrack. How many weeks was it number 1?
Ooh, I'll say it was probably like over a month. So I'll say 6 weeks.
No, not nearly that many. Only 2.
Oh, 2 weeks. Oh, wow.
Yeah, only 2 weeks. All right. Last one on my list here. 1986. This movie was also nominated for Best Soundtrack. Did not win.
Ooh, 86. And the movie came out in 86?
Yes, I believe the movie came out in 86.
Ooh, this one would be a tough one.
We've already mentioned 2 of the artists that appear on this soundtrack in our conversation tonight. I'll give you the songs if you need the hint.
Yeah, I think I'm going to need the songs. I'm not quite sure.
All right, let me get through. There's 3 of them. Let me get through them all.
Yeah.
So the first one that we did not talk about was called Take My Breath Away. The second one was Heaven in Your Eyes by Loverboy. Hey, I just said let me get through all 3.
Sorry.
And Danger Zone by Kenny Loggins.
Yeah,
Yes, it was Top Gun.
Okay.
All right. how many weeks do you think the Top Gun soundtrack was the number one album of 1986?
I'll say 3.
You would be a little on the light side. It was 5.
Oh, okay.
It was 5. Okay, let me just run through a couple of these other ones here.
Sure.
Because I had a bunch of stuff that I ended up not using. So in 1977, the only movie soundtrack to be the number one movie soundtrack of 1977. Any guesses?
See, that's what I thought Saturday Night Fever came out, but it would have to be...
I'd be shocked if you get this. It's a remake, I'll give you that.
Oh, wow. What was a remake around that time that had music in it? Would it be A Star Is Born, maybe?
It was.
Oh my God! I know my 70s.
It was
and 80s,
the number
baby.
one for 6.
That was one with Chris Christopherson in it.
Chris Christopherson, yeah. 1978, where we talked about Saturday Night Fever. The Grease soundtrack was also in 1978. It was up there for 12 weeks. 1982, there was only one soundtrack that hit the top. It was the number one album for 4 weeks in 1982. Any guesses what it might be? It won. I want to say it won Best Picture.
So this is going to be crazy because it's an instrumental, but I think it might have been a Chariots of Fire.
It was
by Vangelis. Yeah, it was huge at the time. Everybody loved that. Yeah.
All right, Flashdance we talked about. Footloose was 10 weeks. We already talked about. Purple Rain, we got that one. 1985, we did Beverly Hills Cop. Okay, in 1985, a television show had a soundtrack that was number one for 8 weeks. Can you name the TV show soundtrack? And if you can't, you'll kick yourself when I tell you what it is.
So in 1985, just so I understand this, it was a TV show soundtrack.
A soundtrack based on a TV show. It was number one for 8 weeks in 1985.
85. Oh, would it be Miami Vice?
Yeah! Miami Vice.
Because Miami Vice was huge with that music. Yes.
It was 8 weeks in 1985 and 3 more weeks in 1986. So it was number one 11
massive.
weeks. That was crazy.
Yeah.
Okay. 87, we talked about Dirty Dancing. We already mentioned early in the show La Bamba was from 1987 as well. 2 weeks at the number one spot. Right. 1988, we talked about Dirty Dancing was 87 for 7 weeks, and then 88, 11 more weeks for a total of 18. And then the U2 album Rattle and Hum, technically a soundtrack because it was based on their movie.
Yes.
It was number one for 6 weeks, which was pretty good. 1989, the only soundtrack on the 1989, the only movie that had a soundtrack that hit number one was 6 weeks, and it was nominated for the best score soundtrack for visual media. Any guesses? 1989?
From 89, I think I'd be letting Yancey down if I didn't say Batman.
You are absolutely correct.
Yes, because Prince, because that was big.
Yeah,
that's
the second
big.
one from second Prince one on here. 1992, Wayne's World for 2 weeks.
Yep.
And then 92 and 93 combined, this album was on the number one spot for soundtrack for 21 weeks, mostly from 1993. It was the number one album of 1993. Can you name it? The movie.
Wow.
Soundtrack. Think of the biggest songs from 1993. It was everywhere for most of the year.
Was the movie kind of like a lesser movie?
Ish. It made a ton of money. It's not the kind of movie you and I would generally run out to see. Let's just put it that way.
It wasn't Singles, was it?
No, it was not.
That's
a good guess, though.
Yeah.
No, it was The Bodyguard.
Oh,
The Bodyguard
right, because of the
Whitney
one
Houston.
song. The one
21
song from Whitney
weeks,
Houston.
yeah.
Yes, that's right.
And then in 1993, the movie Sleepless in Seattle was the number one album, the movie soundtrack for 1 week, which seemed a little weird to me. 94, we had The Crow we already talked about. The Lion King was both 94... Or no, Lion King was 94 as well. And then 95, we didn't go to 95. We had Pocahontas for a single week. The Lion King, Lion King was again for another week. And then Dangerous Minds 4 weeks. So soundtracks doing well on the charts through the 80s and early 90s. But you did really good on the hard part.
I got quite a few of them, so it's all good.
You did. You got a lot. Yeah, I know you're not usually a music guy, but for the
but I am a movie guy. So, and I'm a movie guy from the 80s for sure. Okay, so Derek, next time out, it's your turn to nominate a movie for us to watch and review. What do you want to do?
Well, I want to sort of change pace. So we did an 80s movie that was sort of like teen comedy, music and dancing and fun and uplifting and all that stuff. And, you walk away with a smile on your face and you're tapping your foot. Yeah, we're not doing any of that next week.
Okay.
We're going to do a hardcore heist movie about guys that rob a bank and kill people in Boston. It's the 2010 movie The Town, written, directed, and starring Ben Affleck. Have you ever seen it?
I don't even think I've ever heard of it.
Oh my God, are you in for a treat? This movie's great. If you like heist movies, stick 'em up action movies, you're going to love this one. It's long. It's 2.5 hours. I haven't seen it in a while, and I've been wanting to revisit it. And I figure this is sort of the palate cleanser I'm going to need after watching Footloose.
Okay.
Not that I say that in a bad way,
Right.
just that it's a different genre completely.
Right.
And I wanted to move out of the 80s and go to something a little more
Yep.
recent, even though this one is now 15 years old. Let's watch The Town and come back next week and talk
Well,
about
I think that sounds good. And Ben Affleck started directing movies there. So, yeah, we'll see how it goes. All right. So we're going to come back next time and we are going to watch The Town from 2010, you're saying, right?
Yep.
Okay. So we'll do that
It's
next
2
time.
hours and 5 minutes. I think it said it was 2.5 hours.
All right.
It's
All
2 hours
good.
and 5 minutes.
All
Still, it's
good.
longer. Yeah.
All right. So until then, I'm Chris McBride. And on behalf of myself and Derek Myers and our producer Schloth, we want to say thank you very much for listening to Pop Goes Your World, the pop culture podcast for the generations.
Thanks for listening to Pop Goes Your World. You can contact Chris and Derek at popgoesyourworld.com. Please take a minute and review the podcast on iTunes or wherever you download and listen to the show.